Episode 4 showed what happens when SmartRecruiters speed meets SAP scale. But scale does not integrate itself. Systems do not come together just because the strategy says they should. Behind the product, the market, and the operating model are people learning how to build as one team.
I think that's really interesting because there's a real sort of human perspective to this. Could we just start off with, tell us a little bit about your role, but also the scope of that in terms of the integration between SmartRecruiters and SAP?
I'm our VP of Product Design at SmartRecruiters, and my team handles everything user experience related within the product. And a big chunk of that recently has been integrating into the SAP world, which has been a really great journey, and we've learned a lot in the process. And a big part of that has also been combining some of our teams to make that happen. So from a broader R&D perspective, we brought over 100 engineers, many PMs and designers as well into our group, which I think has been fantastic because when we're looking at integrating the two systems that are both quite complex, having that expertise come and sit in our teams has really been invaluable. And we integrated those teams right away. So particularly ones working on integration, migration, data sync, reporting, all of this, they've come together and blended. And that way we have the expertise, right in the team. And we're able for both sides to understand the complexity, understand the context, and blend those together better. And then even from a cultural perspective, right? Like ways of working, because there's nuances that go just beyond the technology and product as well. So I would say in a really great way, big picture, everything is very aligned, right? Both groups are very curiosity driven, very innovation driven, high willingness to learn, very open. It was more of the smaller things that get you, right? The tools, the little ways of working, the rituals, remote versus in person. There's all these different combinations. And I think the day-to-day complexities are the ones that we had to work out a little bit and figure out versus the bigger picture alignment was actually much easier because we have this common vision that we're driving towards.
What was the most challenging part? What was the most difficult thing that you had to overcome?
I think the changing of some defaults, probably, right? So both, whichever team you're coming from, you're used to a certain way of working. Everyone had to do a bit of onboarding again, right? Even though no one had left a company.
Yeah, of course.
Those SAP folks were coming over into the SmartRecruiters world, but we also were very much so coming in to the SAP world at the same time as sort of this like layered approach. And because of that, we're all onboarding. And I think that part was challenging in a way that we all had to come with that mindset of being new to a lot of spaces and just accounting for what that looks like and a ton of over communication. Because when you have your default networks, you can kind of get used to those cadences. But when that changes, have to over communicate so much because things initially were getting lost in, the different channels and ways of operating.
How else do you sort of deal with that when people are, sort of mourning a previous way of working? What's the sort of best way to kind of bring everyone into the same place?
I think one thing that really helped us was we did our company kickoff in February this year and brought everyone together. So for us in R&D, especially bringing all of those new SAP joiners into our group. And we, as an organization, celebrated together, right? This is a win for everyone. We're coming together. What does that look like? And being able to celebrate that moment, take it in, realign for the year together, and then just have human moments, right? Like being able to get on the dance floor, or have dinner together. And, even for me, it was as simple as one of our team dinners. Every single team dinner, we would get all the chairs together and make sure all 20 designers could sit together. And there's just something around, being able to all sit around the same table and have a conversation. And I think being able to do that in-person connection just a few months into merging the teams made a massive difference in how we could bring everyone together.
The The signs of integration are not only in systems going live, they are in the behaviors people show when the work gets uncomfortable. Whether they ask questions, name confusion, make room, and keep talking when the old defaults stop working.
So to talk a little bit more about the integration, obviously that's going to come with a set of challenges when you're integrating processes and people and cultures. What has that bubbled up in terms of the challenges you had to deal with or you're dealing with?
So we talk about AI as if it's this thing, but at the end of the day, it's not owned by one sort of person or team, right? It is the culture of the organization. Name the fear. Like we know that these are things that you probably have on your mind, and we may not have all the answers. So name the fear, name what the purpose is, what outcomes are you trying to drive for? I think naming the fear, being transparent, speaking frequently, so over communication is really important. For us, we saw, we actually just concluded we do an engagement survey 2 times a year. We announced our acquisition September 11th. We'll always remember that day. We then did our first engagement survey in October. Shockingly, in headwinds of change, when something like that happens, our engagement scores went up. And then in April, we just saw another increase in our engagement. And so globally, you start to see engagement go down. And for us, I think it has been because of those sort of intentional choices to allow for psychological safety for people to say, I don't like this, or I feel uncomfortable with this decision, or I'm scared, and how do you help me work through those things? And again, it's not to say that you can appease or come up with an answer that's going to help everybody, but being able to name it and sort of walk them through that moment together, I think is really important.
When integration is working, it shows up less in announcements and more in behavior. Motivation, readiness, curiosity, and the willingness to keep moving through change.
And how does this compare to sort of other integrations that you've sort of been through in your career?
Yeah, I think that we have great people who are really motivated to take this forward. I've been in some where companies were a little less ready to embrace change. And change is essential when you're integrating. I'm very encouraged by the start thus far. It's still 6 to 7 months in, but the underlying behaviors that I see for what success looks like, it's here. It's here, and it comes down to execution.
Plus, as well, on a cultural level, SAP people are just really great people to work with. So we found that coming together as 2 teams has been really powerful. We're just out there, trying to solve the biggest problems, working to help our customers be more successful.
In the end, integration is not only a technical capability. It is a leadership practice, changing defaults, over-communicating, making room at the table, naming what feels uncertain, and keeping the human experience anchored while everything else changes. But once people are in the room, they still need to know what they are building toward. The next challenge is making the future visible enough for teams, customers, and the market to believe it can become real.